I did not know what was going on in that book. Like, that book was so far over my head.
Uh-huh.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Here it is, the annual post-C2E2 episode of Contest of Challengers. And I just realized now that my voice is kind of going.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's weird to be calling this the post-C2E2 episode, because in a lot of ways it is, in that it goes out once C2E2 is more or less over for the weekend. You know, the Sunday night, Monday morning it goes out.
Yeah.
C2E2 is done. But it's more that it's the post-C2E2 of us going to C2E2 podcast.
Yes.
Because we only go on Friday now.
Yep.
So we're recording this after Friday when, I mean, to my knowledge, only like 2 to 3 things have been announced. Depending on how you want to sort out announcements.
Well, we're going to back up a bit. We're not going to go right into C2E2. We're gonna take a little bit of a chronological approach.
Okay.
To this episode.
Sure.
But I will say, relating to Friday, do you remember what I said to you on the way to C2E2 about how the day would play out? Like, no matter what happened?
No. What did you say?
No matter what happened, or no matter what happened to C2E2, even before C2E2, this was already a great day.
That's true. Yeah, it was you had the drop of the new Night Flight Orchestra.
Yeah,
had a new album drop today.
Aromantic.
Yes.
So we got to listen to it.
It's AERO, not aromantic,
or not ARROW.
Right.
Although it's pronounced that way. The new Night Flight Orchestra album, Aromantic, dropped today, and we got to listen to all of it.
We did. We both did.
Yeah. I don't know who was more excited. I think probably me.
Probably.
But it's close.
Hard to gauge.
Yeah. It's very close.
Yeah. A lot of emotions.
I agree. And the best part about it is I didn't even know it was a thing until 2 weeks ago. And I love this band. How much I love this band, Al?
So much?
That you hear it all the time.
There
was a point where you heard it. Like, you knew the songs.
I knew a few songs for sure. I mean, in a sense, aren't we all, what was it? Something for the nighttime? Living for the nighttime?
Living for the night.
You're just living for the nighttime. My favorite part of maybe any song that I'm not a huge fan of.
All right, so unbeknownst to Dal.
Hello.
On Wednesday, as things were happening in River North, and I told you about the things that happened, but what you didn't know is I did little audio drop-ins for each thing.
Okay.
And there were 2 specific customers' interactions that came in that after they left, I did a voice memo
from
of
Wednesday?
what had happened. Yeah,
okay.
From New Release Day.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but I did tell you about those incidents.
Okay.
The irony is, after the second one, I'm like, hey, who knows how many more of these I'm going to do today? 0. So I'm going to put those in right here. Continuing a discussion topic from last week, this is another example of why I, Patrick, hate variant covers. It is Wednesday morning. It is 10:57. Technically not even open yet, but I'm in River North. Someone came in, went right to the shelf, looking for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, Jennika, which we have. Oh, we don't have the other cover. We only have one cover. Doesn't buy it, buys nothing, and leaves. The story inside is the same. Cover's different. You could still get it. Like, I could understand wanting a cover and being disappointed, but then still getting the book. But nope, bought nothing because we did not have the cover he was looking for of a book that came out today. That is one more reason I hate variant covers. Here's another Wednesday update. We've been open now for 43 minutes officially. We've had 2 people come in, or one person come in just for Year the Villain Hell Risen #3, and then left immediately when I said we didn't have it. We had another person who I wish we had it for because he was buying a bunch of other new comics for the week, and it was clear this guy just wanted to get this book to read it, and I wish I could give one to him. But at River North, we have none for the shelf because subscribers claim them all. And then a phone call with a guy who was very direct and very despondent. You can hear him just say, or you can hear it in his voice, just, do you have Year of the Villain 3? Nope. Okay. So, yeah, that's, I feel really good not having it, except for, so far, one person who, yes, I judge whether or not they should have it. However, we don't have it to give, so it doesn't matter. But there's one person I really wished I could have given one to today. But only one. And that's just the first 45 minutes. Now, this is just a quick refresher for Dow because he didn't know which ones it was.
Yeah, those didn't play for me right now.
That's right. That's right. In fact, only a mere second passed for Dow.
But a lifetime for the listeners.
But it was about something we never really talk about on this podcast or in the stores.
Okay.
People wanting variant covers.
Oh, yes, sure.
Or people wanting the hot books for the week, stuff we never talk about.
Sure.
Yeah, so it was just...
Glad to finally touch on that. Big part of the industry.
Two of those instances.
Usually goes unremarked upon by us.
And I mentioned how there was somebody who I legitimately wish I could have given a Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen.
Sure.
Number 3. 2. To give it 2, not number 2. Did you notice that everybody who came in looking for it never called it by its real name?
Yeah, because most of them did not understand what book it was because they did not read 1 and 2 and they were not planning on reading issue 4.
Yeah.
Nor were they even planning on reading 3. They just wanted to buy it and then either hold on to it and never read it or immediately sell it to someone else for a huge premium. So what the book was irrelevant. Just that it was valuable.
I can tell you that we had a fairly recent club member email us about it yesterday saying, hey, a friend of mine told me this was a good book. And I had to say, hey, we can't get it for you. I'm sorry. But he came in today, and if we had it, I would have loved to give it to him because he's genuinely interested because, hey, my friend said this is a new good book. He's excited for it because he's a huge Harley Quinn fan.
Sure.
And even though this club member doesn't read a lot of DC, he's like, this story sounds fun. I was just going to check it out. And honestly, like, that is what we want. We want...
For people to be engaged with stories? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and somebody who said, this sounds interesting, I would like to read this story.
I just wish it was not one of the 2 books in the industry that are basically impossible to get right now.
Yeah.
Pending new printings. Yeah, if it was something like Superman Heroes, like I'm sure we can turn a copy of that up, although no one's saying that about Superman Heroes. But yeah, there's plenty of books that come out each week where if someone expresses an interest, if we don't have it, we can probably track one down. But yeah, I mean, when your interest is in a book that is going for hundreds of dollars online, last I checked, or was told, then I can't help you. Like, you're way too late on that.
I'm sure you had a lot of run-ins. Not a lot, but a few people looking for it Wednesday.
Yeah, thankfully we sold out super fast, so I did not have to field a lot of phone calls. I could just tell people, no, we don't have it.
Did you leave it a blank space on the wall, or you just covered it up?
No, that's a blank space.
Okay.
I always want to leave a blank space so that when I have to go look at the shelves and see what we're out of that we might need to restock on, I know what's there. Like, there were a few things that when I was making spaces on Monday in Bucktown that had been covered, like cards that were covered up with other books. So I'm like, oh, if I would have known that, I would have maybe reordered this. But I didn't see that empty space when I was doing the Sunday reorder. So yeah, I definitely like leaving blank backer cards whenever possible.
We didn't even have any for the shelf in River North.
No.
I mean, ask any store, they'll tell you Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen didn't work. It wasn't selling.
No.
So after issues 1 and 2, people are like, I'm cutting 3.
Yeah, and then they said, oh, 3 is this character. And it's like, and this is something we've talked about to death, but for me, when they said, there's going to be this hot new character, I'm like, well, you're saying it. That means it's not going to be hot. So the fact that it was hot was like, it goes against all, like, logic and evidence from the collectibles markets. So yeah, did not expect people to fall for it, essentially.
I can't remember if we even talked about this last week, but DC said, hey, Superman number 18 is going to be huge. He reveals identity to the world. And they told us enough times we could order it accordingly. And you know what? We did okay. We got like 2 left. But it seemed like nobody cared for a while. Superman 18?
Where do we have 2 left?
Oh, I didn't check the restock.
We have a lot in the restock box.
Okay.
A cover and B cover.
Got it.
Yep. No, we did not do well with that. Not only did we not sell out of the extra copies we got, we probably sold less than we did of 17. which means we probably had a couple extra.
Well, that just proves what I was saying then.
Pretty much.
And what you said when they
tell us, it's like, well, now it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But it did, and that's why it's terrifying and frustrating, and why we all ended up with less copies than we maybe needed. But anyway, we talked about that to death last week.
we're not going. We're just sticking to that.
No.
It was
so
just,
I did not have a lot of people calling for it. I think relative to Batman '89, I think because the word was already out of like, look, if you didn't get a copy, you're not going to find a copy to store. So we got a few people coming in right away, and then
regulars, people you see every week, though, of course.
Yeah,
salt of the earth,
people
hardworking people
who read every page of every issue of Year of the Villain before issue 3. So yeah, phone calls after like noon or 1 o'clock were few and far between for Hell Arisen. A couple, but it was just a quick no, and then they were off the phone. A lot more calls for C2E2 tickets, so.
Yeah, I'm honestly real happy that that's going to be over. It's not over yet. We had to turn away a very nice regular customer today and be like, yeah, I'm sorry, we haven't had him for like a week now. But he's going to River North to get them.
We've had them for months. That's
I know.
Always so weird. And every year we run out of a ticket. Or several tickets. A ticket.
At least a day, yes.
And this one, I get that C2E2 was a little bit earlier this year. Maybe their messaging wasn't as great, letting people know, like, hey, the convention's at the end of February, not at the end of, like, March or into April. So get your tickets early. But, I mean, people knew, and so many people were like, oh, I guess I'll just get my tickets 5 days before the event. Like,
yeah. To do justice to this guy's... He wasn't planning on going, but a group of his friends were like, hey, man, we're all going. You should come with.
And I get it. And stuff like that happens.
Yeah, and it does. Last-minute changes happen,
amount of people
but not
who were
to everybody.
Still coming in for, like, 4 3-day passes or something 5 days before the show. It's like, how did you not plan this better? Like, what if we didn't have them? What if we did run out? We've run out of 3-day tickets before. Like, the idea of just... And there were people who came in for Saturday passes to Bucktown, and we had to go, no, we sold out of them. River North has them. You can go there. But we have run out. And they were just like, how could you run out? Like, because we did. Like,
we don't have infinity number of tickets. We have the number of tickets
run out
that C2E2 allows us to sell on their behalf.
And on top of that, when you think about most, like, events, you want to get the tickets early because they could run out. This is not an unheard of phenomenon in live events. Tickets running out because more people want to attend than there are tickets. So someone being like, I can't get them 5 days before the show? No, sometimes you can't.
Gina had an interaction today where somebody came in looking for a Saturday ticket, and she had to say, no, I'm sorry, we sold out.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, can I buy it online? And Gina says, I don't know, probably. You should check their website. Okay, but you can guarantee I can buy it online?
No.
No, I can't guarantee it at all. You should check their website.
You're the only one who used the word guarantee.
And came back 20 minutes later and bought a 3-day pass.
Yeah, sometimes it's... I mean, if you're planning on going and you can't get Saturday passes, you can buy a 3-day pass.
Yeah.
I've told people every year, because every year we'll get people asking when C2E2 tickets come out, how long are you going to have them for? Are you going to run out? You know, like, essentially, what is the latest point that I can buy them? Which is always a fun question for someone to ask in a store. My recommendation always be, buy it right now, while we have them, for anything. But
not just
anything.
Yeah.
If you don't want something to run out and it's here, buy it. But the real answer that I do give people is like, as long as you plan on getting your tickets in store more than 2 weeks before the event, you should be fine.
Yes.
Anything after 2 weeks before the event, like if you're less than 14 days before the event, I'm making no guarantees. Stuff is going to run out. And that's every year. It's just this year that was like February 14th.
Yep.
Sorry.
And we can't hold them, we can't transfer them.
No. That's in the contract.
Anyway, we're done with that for, it looks like not well over a year. We'll be selling them, probably January.
Yeah. But it will be over a year before the next C2E2 comic convention in Chicago, Illinois.
That's right. So before C2E2, we had some pre-C2E2 events. We had Kelly Williams at Bucktown signing A Letter to Joe. And we had Zenoscope doing a pop-up in River North. And for those of you that missed Kelly Williams, if you're listening to this on Monday or Sunday night, or if you're a patron, you can get it Saturday night because you get it earlier.
Lucky dogs.
With no editing, but, I mean, let's be honest, there's hardly any editing anyway. It just means with no introduction or outroduction music. Or, I don't know about the drop-ins. That means I have to go back and add the drop-ins to the unedited file, so I can't say unedited because it's been added to, so I have to say raw audio.
With our garnishments.
Yeah. So that's extra work that patrons get it early. Like, they don't get, if I do sound effects and stuff, they don't get those, but when it's a whole extra bit of content that, it's not fair to not give it to them.
That's true.
So, anyway, Kelly Williams will be signing at River North, that same graphic novel, A Letter to Joe, which is actually a good graphic novel and a very, very moving, true life story. And that'd be swell if you guys came out to see him and support him. He's in town for C2E2, but he's leaving on Tuesday. So we scooped him up for 2 days. And the Zenescope in-store went really well.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, a lot of Zenescope fans came out, and they did a good push. They were selling things for good prices, and Jack from Zenescope was very, very personable, very fun to talk to, and knowledgeable about the material, and really good at answering Zenescope questions.
Cool.
And we came up with a new slogan for Zenescope, which obviously this is a joke, and it came out of something he said. Zenescope, just a little bit of butt. Which was very funny in context.
Yes. It's funny out of context.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not funny.
True. I mean, the other tagline was Zenescope. I mean, we're not boundless.
Yeah.
Which, that's a knock at a...
It is a dig at easily the comic company that I think I hear retailers complain the most about when they're talking about the previews catalog. Is, oh my god, all those pages of really gross Boundless comics.
Yep. So, that was fun, but at the same time, we had multiple other things just occur.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in the day at River North on Thursday, we had a visit from... We had visits from several people who were in town just for C2E2.
Yeah, one of the things that we were kind of curious about when we were opening the store in River North was the realization that it was a lot closer to downtown and a lot closer to things like the McCormick Place. So the idea of people who come to town, who come to Chicago, who are just kind of in that kind of, loop, South Loop part of the city, it's hard for them to get up to Bucktown. So it's harder for them to, visit Challengers. So we wondered, with a store in River North, maybe we'll see people who normally can't get out there. And so this was kind of the first test of that, of people coming to C2E2, will we see them at River North?
Yeah, and we saw some. People we didn't know, but other people that we had made plans to meet. But first we had Josh Crowley come in from Westfield Comics in Madison, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. His trip to C2E2, he always stops at A Challengers.
Yes.
And his good friend, and our good friend Heidi, came with him. We also hung out with them for a little bit today.
We did, it's true. In a line.
And
a couple lines.
Heidi not only gave us hand sanitizer, but she gave me vodka like she did last year
I use that hand sanitizer a lot today.
Yeah.
And you didn't use that vodka at all, which is weird. You didn't need it. Did you? Did you use it? Was I not watching?
That bottle of the first bottle of Diet Dr. Pepper was a good mixer.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Sure. So they were there for a bit, which is always fun. And I kind of thought for our out-of-town friend, out-of-country friend, I would almost save it and drop him in during the patron part.
Sure.
But since we're doing this chronologically,
yeah.
I got to spend a whole bunch of time with, and Dal got some time with.
Sure.
All the way from Tel Aviv, Israel, Jackob Sareli from Kamikaze.
Yeah.
And it's, we'll just let him tell you. We are outside at night in front of Club Lago, which is, as you all know, a mere block or so away from Challengers of River North. And not only is Dal here...
Hi!
But we're here with a fellow comics retailer and a patron for this very podcast, and a man who has come... How many thousands of miles away are you?
a lot of miles away.
Yeah.
4 miles. 4 miles. An accent, 4 miles.
You can hear, wow, 2 trains back to back. As Dal said, that's a very Chicago noise, just to prove we're outside.
It's how they found Dr. Richard Kimball in The Fugitive. That's it.
That's all you need to know for Chicago is a one-armed man. Anyway, we are here with...
Jackob Sareli from Kamikaze.
In Tel Aviv, Israel.
Yes.
All the way from Israel here in Chicago. Someone that we've been internet friends with for a long time. If such a... Will you allow that term?
Internet friends?
Yeah.
I'll allow it because we're modifying it to be real friends.
That's right. So we of course didn't go anywhere to meet him. He came all this way. Coincidentally, it's C2E2 weekend, but it's not just for C2E2. It's clearly because we're here. Kamikaze from Tel Aviv, Israel, and you've been there for 11 years.
11 years. Yeah.
And this is your first time in the United States.
Yep.
And nobody stopped and frisked you? Nobody barred you entrance?
No one.
I mean, there's hope for this country after all.
Only a little bit, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We hope you have a great time at C2E2. We hope that you get to meet everybody you want to. He's here doing a diplomatic mission for his customers, getting things for other people, which is very
cool.
Very generous of you.
Yeah.
And speaking of his generosity, he brought us a lovely stack of Israeli comic books.
Excited to read them.
But specifically ones that were in English.
Because I'm a dummy, and I only know the one language.
Well, yeah, we Jacob, you speak like, what, 15, 30 languages, something like that?
2.5, 3 languages, something
You
like
speak
that.
at least 4.
He learned one new one just as we were eating dinner. It's
I know.
amazing.
You've got Russian, you've got Georgian, you've got Hebrew, you've got English. That's at least 4.
Yeah.
Between Dal and I, not even one full one.
Yeah. I know a little Interlac. Just a little bit.
That's true. You do know some Interlac.
A little bit Interlac.
Yeah.
Read, not speak.
Fair enough. Thank you for thinking that there's value in what we do. Thank you for one of my favorite things about you is how you're always willing to learn and ask questions and are interested in how other people do the thing that you do. And you're a frequent contributor to... I have to switch hands because it's freezing and not wearing a glove. You're interested in how other people do. You're a frequent contributor to a lot of the same Facebook retailer boards that I'm on, that Dal's not on.
Yay. That's why there's 2 of us.
And it really makes this giant planet that we're on feel a lot more smaller and more navigatable.
Cozy.
And
cozy planet.
It also... I consider you a progressive retailer, and the things that you do in your shop, in your country, make me want to be better at what I do in my shop,
at least
in my country.
At least 3 things tonight that I'm like, I guess we should start doing that. That sounds like a really
good
idea.
For real. We had Jacob and I have been talking for hours today, and we've come away with things that we're going to implement that he does in his store. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, and I can say the same about me, about our store. It's great to see you in person, the both of you.
Thanks, man.
We're going to use that. Whoa, that is a very cool person on the streets of Chicago.
Out.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. Have a great time at the show. I need to put gloves on. Thank you. I realized I shouldn't have said, well, let him tell you. Like, what I meant to say was, well, let him tell you about himself.
Right.
So it's always, I was going to say fun, but actually educational to talk to like-minded retailers who are as invested in their business as we are in ours.
Honestly, I find it educational to talk to non-like-minded retailers as well.
Sure, but specifically talking to someone like Jacob, who is active on all the same message boards that I am. He's more active than I am, and he has a whole different viewpoint because he's coming from Israel, and he's dealing with international shipping. And he still sells the same comics, but also a bunch of other comics.
And I think that's one of the things that's interesting is that, you could obviously point to a lot of the differences, as far as being in a whole different country and dealing with shipping and dealing with local culture and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, he's still, like, trying to sell Empire for Marvel.
Yeah.
And, getting excited about stuff like Batman, Catwoman, and Strange Adventures. So it's like, there is this kind of weird global language of, these North American comics hitting all these different parts of the globe and having fan communities in each of those countries where it's like they're excited about Batman, they are excited about X-Men and Spider-Man and that sort of superhero stuff becoming a global thing. Obviously, there's a lot of different other kinds of comics. They do a lot with manga. And then he knows a lot more about manga than I do. But there were still some similarities where it's like, oh, this is a book series that does well for us for manga. And he's like, oh, it does well for us too. And so, again, there's that kind of closing of the gap of feeling like, these aren't two completely different markets so much as they are, one kind of type of store dealing with different local realities, Like, I don't feel like what he does and what we do are that different.
No, and that's what is kind of great about comics, and specifically the comics that are available to other countries through Diamond. Mm-hmm. And what I really respect about Jacob is how he's always trying to make his business better, but everybody else's business better as well. He has a lot of suggestions and a lot of comments and questions as well. But he's a very frequent contributor to the boards, and I'm not. I'm like more of a fly on the wall, or I'll answer a question if I can, but I never.
You're a lurker.
Bring up topics, and Jacob brings up topics, and he gave us advice on some manga that we're going to try, and they're real good at doing fully informational graphics for their store. Yeah, like not just like, hey, here's a cover book coming out, but it's, hey, here's the cover, here's when it's coming out, here's how long it's going to be.
Yeah, it's definitely something we're going to try and do more of. One of the things that we talked to him about that really kind of struck a chord with me was the idea of trying to be more engaging and active with your subscribers, giving them information, creating more of a sense of giving them the tools they need to be more excited about the books that you're going to be selling. And that's something that we work hard at, and it's something that he introduced some new tools where it's like, oh, this could be something where we could maybe get
this is beneficial.
Different responses. And it's stuff where it's not replacing anything that we're already doing, but supplementing it, maybe reaching subscribers in a way where it's more where they're at, rather than, things that we're sending out to them that might not be something that they're as interested in engaging with, but if you put it over here or you do it in this way, maybe it'll get them a little bit more excited. And that's, I mean, for the kind of businesses that we run, that's a big part of things, is getting those subscribers, the people who are coming in weekly and monthly for comics, to know about this stuff that's coming out and be excited about it and let you know they're excited about it. So that's all real valuable information. And Jacob gave us a few ideas on how we can kind of get more out of that segment of our customer base.
He's as knowledgeable about North American comics as we are, and he's way more knowledgeable about all of the independently created books in Israel. Mm. In fact, he brought a bunch over. Like, he brought a hefty stack of books. Like, he had to carry this in his suitcase and bring it on the train.
Crazy.
Like, what a super generous thing to do. And I think what I want to do with those books, first of all, is the same thing we did with the books we got from Mitchell at All Star in Melbourne.
Make a little display.
Yeah, like say, hey, these aren't for sale. These are to look at. Yeah. These are comics. The best thing about them is, even though their main language is Hebrew, all these books are in English.
Yeah, he brought books that we could actually read, which is a total heads-up play by him.
Yeah.
Because, other people would have just been like, here, you can look at the art, but you don't know what the stories are. But he's like, well, you should be able to read these. They're comic books.
They go both ways, like left to right and right to left. Not every issue goes, what I mean is some of them go
constructed
left.
In different ways.
Yeah. Sure. But apparently, traditionally, they are a right to left country.
I think that's one of the reasons why the manga does pretty well, because you can read it translated, but you're not flipping it, and you're used to reading it in that format.
Sure. That is the thing I didn't know. He was full of all sorts of great information, and I would preface everything with, hey, I'm an ignorant American who knows nothing about your culture.
As a dummy, let me ask you.
What about this? Yeah, so he hung out, we hung out for I don't know, 7 hours or so.
You guys did, yeah. I was late to the party. I only caught the last 3 hours probably.
Yeah, you caught the dinner part. You caught the best part.
I did. I had stuff I had to do in Bucktown, and I was a little late getting out, so I got there in time for dinner.
He helped a few people in River North.
Oh, that's cool.
He made some suggestions for people. I put him in charge of the store for a little bit, and he didn't burn it down, so that's a huge plus.
Nice.
Yeah. Although, I was looking forward to the insurance money, but whatever.
Well, Can't win them all.
Yeah, he's just a fan. He's younger than I expected him to be honest. Mm-hmm. Just from like nothing he's ever done, but he seemed wise beyond his years, I guess is a way to put it.
Nice. And
so then we had the traditional age gap, the decade between you and me, the decade between you and him. Yeah. But yeah, it's always great to see somebody from a whole different part of the world doing what you do and being as invested or more than you are. So, Jacob, thanks for being a patron.
Yeah, man.
And thanks for he's a patron for Off Panel as well. Like, he's a guy who listens to comic podcasts to learn to do his business better.
Gosh, I don't do that.
It's amazing. And just thank you for your energy. And that's we talked to a good number of retailers this weekend.
We did.
I feel like we talked to more retailers than we did creators almost.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I know, but it just like to show you that it's not usually this.
We did. We
this
talked
much.
to a few though,
and we'll mention them later. But yeah, Jacob, it was great to meet you, and I hope that the show was everything you wanted it to be. And then at the same time, whilst Zenoscope was there and Jacob was there, the fallen angel Christopher Daniels came in.
True.
Popped out of a floorboard, as they say. And hung out for a while.
Yeah, it was especially weird because we were getting a lot of phone calls from something called the Dark Order while he was there.
Yeah, I think that was just was
whoever
had the number before
the old
us.
phone number. Yeah, that probably is it. Yeah, I can't think of otherwise why they'd be calling.
It was really weird. Somebody asked for the Exalted One. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
Is that a comic? I don't know what that is. But so he is now the third person to be represented artistically on both stores' walls.
Yes.
And we got Jacob to sign on the wall in blue. He's the first organic blue signer.
Yes.
And he signed in Hebrew. And it was great because one person in the store who was there for Zenoscope saw Daniels and said, "You're Christopher Daniels," which was pretty great. But then another person saw Daniels drawing on the wall, and he's like, "Man, it's so great to see artists at work." And after he left, I'm like, "He called you an artist." He's like, "Yeah, he didn't know any better." I'm like, "No, man, you were drawing. Like, we've got a Cloak and Dagger illustration hanging up in red that says otherwise."
It's true.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And I go, "Also, you're an artist in a different field. You work on canvas."
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, so it was great to have him hang out, and
yeah.
I had Jacob recommend some books for him.
I did not get to see Christopher Daniels at all this time.
Sorry.
That's
I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll see. I hopefully I will see him on Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully you'll see him
at the big wrestling show.
He's a hardcore Marvel guy. He even wrote a page of that X-Men Christmas special, like 2018.
Yeah,
where each page was a different story.
Yeah. No, he's a legit Marvel guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jacob and I were trying to do like, hey, what did I recommend to him?
Plunge.
Right, and
I don't know what else. Bang.
Yep.
Okay.
Jacob recommended Wonder Woman: Dead Earth. Mm-hmm. Excellent choice.
I mean, those are all good books.
And I gave him a Quantum and Woody. I'm like, hey, check out Quantum and Woody. He goes, Ryan Brown, you made me read God Hates Astronauts. I did not know what was going on in that book. Like, that book was so far over my head. Like, He's like, I was jumping to reach it. I go, no, man, I think that your problem is you needed to kneel down. Like, you needed to duck.
Just like
and go down to get it. Yeah. So that was the build-up to C2E2. Mm-hmm. And then this morning was C2E2.
Yeah, it was a little weird because this is the first time in a while where there has not been any Diamond Comic distributor programming for retailers before C2E2. In years past, we've either had, like last year we had the regular Diamond Breakfast, where Diamond would have a bunch of retailers. Maybe there'd be a couple presentations, Marvel or DC.
It's always a packed room. There's always a lot of retailers who come to those things.
Yeah, and because you get some freebie stuff. Usually there's like some exclusive variant covers that you can flip for some money, so it makes attending it valuable financially, but also hopefully you learn some stuff. Marvel occasionally would announce a couple things to retailers at the breakfast that would then be announced to the public later in the convention.
Yeah, it's one of the few times we get something first.
Yeah. And then some years, the whole Diamond Summit, the retailer summit, has coincided with C2E2.
Where it's days of programming with workshops and presentations.
Like, that was a couple years ago, and then it was, like, 6 years before that. So it's not that often. Like, this year, I think it's happening in, like, Orlando or something. This year, there was 0 Diamond retailer programming. I don't even remember if Diamond was set up.
I mean, we never saw them.
Well, we didn't look around all of the floor, but yeah, maybe they weren't set up at all. I mean, they just had Comics Pro this past weekend, and I know they've got their retailer summit coming up, so they might have decided like C2E2 just didn't make sense for them.
Emerald City is their first retailer appreciation breakfast.
Yeah, so unfortunately, like that part of the day didn't really happen, which the downside of it wasn't necessarily the loss of information, because that stuff will all get out other ways. Diamond, whatever they do it at a retailer appreciation breakfast, will be on their email to retailers the following Monday. So
or Bleeding Cool, live,
so that stuff will get to us, and the giveaway stuff I don't really care that much about.
No, that's never been a reason we go.
It's the main advantage is honestly getting there early enough that you can get really good parking. Because you're getting there well in advance of any fans, because you're getting there 3 hours maybe before the show floor opens. So you're only really competing with like some exhibitors that maybe need parking.
Yeah.
You get a breakfast, which is nice, so you can get fed. And then you also get a pro badge, which means you not only get to get upstairs and not have to deal with a lot of the lines, but you can get onto the show floor a little bit earlier and not have to deal with a crush of people. You're not standing in line with all of the fans. You're walking in with exhibitors and Artist Alley people. So you get a little bit of a chance to kind of experience the show with a little bit of calm to it before the crush of people. So that none of that happened, which means we had, because we were selling tickets for C2E2, we had some 3-day tickets that they'd given us to attend the show, and so we used those. But they're just basic fan tickets, so you stand in line.
Yeah, and I guess I never realized, like, sitting down before the show for like an hour and a half versus standing up in a line for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, for me, it bums you out a little bit because you're just standing there. You can talk to people, you can listen to headphones, but check your phone, but you're just standing there.
The point Dow's making is that we still got there early enough to get decent parking, not as good as before,
right?
But that means we had a full hour to wait before the show opened. So we got there at 9.
Yeah,
but you're just standing in line.
Yeah, but they let us in at 10. We were in like the second corral of people because that's when we got there.
Yeah.
So the whole first corral gets to go in, and then they let the second corral in. So we were on the show floor by like 10:05, probably something like that.
No complaints about that. It was pretty quick. Mm-hmm. But unlike last year's or past years or previous years or last year in general, we don't have an agenda. We normally just walk in and decide, like, hey, do we do exhibitors first or Artist Alley first? Then we pick a corner of the show floor and walk it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This year, because they're heavily involved with AEW, All Elite Wrestling, so much so that AEW has a pay-per-view Saturday night right across the street.
Yeah, at the Wintrust Arena.
Right across the street.
Same parking as C2E2.
Yeah.
You just park in the same lot. You just park at level 3 instead of 4, and then you just take the Sky Bridge over.
And a whole bunch of AEW wrestlers were coming to the show.
Yeah.
And they're doing meet and greets and stuff.
Yeah, it was not meet and greets in the normal C2E2. You buy these photo ops and autograph experiences ahead of time, and they're, the back section of the hall. It was AEW has these people. Check with AEW when they're going to do all this stuff. So you couldn't buy experiences ahead of time. But we looked, and one of the problems was that AEW kept announcing people as the days got closer to C2E2. So you'd think, oh, this is who they're going to have. I don't care about them. I'm moving on. And then you'd hear, oh, no, they announced 6 more people.
Yeah.
So we found out...
and before he says, Dow has never been a wait in line...
I don't like it.
For an autograph.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, the whole experience of waiting in line I don't find enjoyable. I don't like paying money to meet people. That's not something I care about.
I do remember you did it for Kristen Bell.
I did, yeah.
That's only because the circumstance was she was so close.
She was so close. It was, there was basically no line. I don't want to say I was browbeaten into it, but there was definitely a lot of like, come on, do it, go, go. And it was like, fine, I'll go. And I still have that. I think I still have that Wizard World ticket. that says, "Had fun working in your booth, Kristen Bell."
The best part was you had said, "Hey, can you sign it? And can you say this?"
Yeah.
And
she's
she
like,
did.
"Oh, that's great." And then like the handler who was with her laughed at it. She did it, and then I get back to the booth. I'm like, "Oh, that's what I got."
She didn't sign it.
She didn't sign her name. She forgot to sign her name.
She wrote what Dal said, but never signed it.
Yeah, but because it was an unusual like dedication, she forgot to sign her name afterwards. So I think you went back.
Yeah, so it was like, "Hey, I've never met her. I'll go back." So I went back and I'm like, "Hey, my friend was just here and you didn't sign it." And she was super nice. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Please tell me it was an accident." I'm like, but it made me get to A, meet her, and B,
have a fun story.
Yeah.
So I don't usually like doing that. I don't, in general, I don't find value to having someone's autograph necessarily. Like, if it's something where I'm meeting someone and having an experience with them, great. But the autograph itself is just like a byproduct of the interaction.
It's just a reminder to you.
So someone who's just there that you paid money and they're signing it and they move you along, like, that doesn't mean anything to me. And in essence, the paying money to have that interaction always strikes me as like, I'm trying to think of a way to I don't want to minimize it for people who do enjoy that, because I know a lot of people...
that's the beauty of this. Like, the fact that you don't like it doesn't take away from anybody else liking it.
And I don't begrudge anyone doing it or any shows, making that a huge part of
last year, I did it for Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks.
Sure.
And I did it for David Tennant.
Yeah. And you would have done it for Matt Smith this year, heading out canceled yet again.
Yet again.
So the photograph, the autograph, like that stuff doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't have any emotional weight to it. It honestly often is either an expenditure I don't want to do or a time sink that I don't have time for. However, AEW is announcing more and more wrestlers, and it was just like, that's cool. I like a lot of them. They're really great wrestlers. I like watching them on TV. I don't need to meet any of them. And then they announced freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy would be appearing at C2E2 on Friday morning, first thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit.
The stars align.
The stars completely align, and it's like, and they announced the price, and it's like $30. Like, well, goddamn, like, I'll spend $30 to get a photo with Orange Cassidy. Yes, okay.
You should see, listener. You should see Dal mark out over Orange Cassidy on TV.
It's the best.
It's the best.
It's the best. Like, of all the matches at Patrick and I were talking at one point on the way back, I think, from C2E2 today. We were talking about how we're going to be going to the AEW Revolution pay-per-view on Saturday, and it's got an incredible card. All the matches are great. There's maybe one where I'm like, I don't care a whole lot, but everything else is like fantastic, super excited to see it. And we were talking about like, what's the one you're most excited about? And I had to preface my answer with not counting the Orange Cassidy Pac match.
Yeah.
Which obviously is the thing I'm the most excited about.
Everybody's most excited for it.
Everybody. There's a bunch of other matches, but I had to set aside the one that is the most exciting to me. So Orange Cassidy being there. The only other person that I think I'd said that I would have done a meet and greet for had they offered it would be Ref Aubrey.
Sure.
That's probably it. Those are like the two people.
Which they missed the boat on bringing her out.
They really did. Next year, I really think they need to do some Ref Aubrey meet and greets. I mean,
Dal challenged me with getting Ref Aubrey to follow us on social media, and I have failed.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of AEW wrestlers and behind-the-scene people that follow us on Twitter.
Keep trying, dude.
And Ref Aubrey is not one of them.
No. Yeah, if there was an Aubrey Edwards one, yes. I probably would have paid not more than $40, but definitely up to $40 to do a photo or an autograph with Ref Aubrey.
Would you do it if it was just an autograph?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Again, the photo doesn't mean a whole lot to me. Like, if it's just an autograph, it's still like, well, I got to meet them, you know? So Orange Cassidy was there, and the stars were lined up, and I think what I'd said ahead of time was like, if it's something we can duck into, if we didn't know how they were going to be setting up. So if it's just like a bank of people and there's not a line and you can, like, if we're 4 or 5 people back, fine, we'll do it. Because we only have one day that we're going to be at C2E2. And we really only are there from like 10 to maybe like 4 o'clock. Because Patrick has to get back to Bucktown to close out for the night. And, if you're at McCormick Place, you need to get to Bucktown and you need to get back before 6, you're probably going to have to leave around 4.
Yeah. It did take a solid hour to drive home.
Yeah, it's not short. And just, leaving the show floor at 4 does not mean you even leave McCormick Place until 4:30. So anyway, we only really have about 6 hours. So the idea of like sinking, an hour plus into meeting Orange Cassidy was like, that's the point where we have too much else to do. So we get into the show floor, and I looked at the map, so I knew that AEW was right out the entrance. You walk in there to the left. And sure enough, there's a merch booth, and then there's a line that says, and you can see at the front of it, like, meet and greet tickets.
Yeah.
And again, you couldn't buy the experiences in advance. You had to go there and get them.
You had to go to the table. Yeah, because they took place at the table.
Right, so we see this huge line of people, and my thought was, okay, well, this is the line where you buy the experiences, and then you come back for whatever. The line's not moving. We're standing there for 15 minutes, and it's the same two guys dressed up like the Young Bucks, who are not the Young Bucks, standing at the front of the line. And I'm just thinking, did the person who's supposed to be ringing them up not show up? And eventually the line starts moving, but it's because the C2E2 staff basically had to rearrange the line because it was stretching out into the entrance. So they wrapped the line around. And then after standing there for another 20 minutes, someone from C2E2 comes by to say that this line is only for Orange Cassidy and, had to be corrected, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Britt Baker is some schmo who has no profession who wrestles. Dr. Britt Baker is a dentist. She has a degree in it. And
a real-life dentist.
She has a doctorate.
Who has a dental practice.
Yes, and we need to acknowledge that.
Tony. The best part was when Gabe's walking by. He's like, this is just for Orange Cassidy, Britt Baker. And it was George who first said, she's a doctor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Gabe, you got to say Dr. Britt Baker because she went to medical school and, don't downplay her accomplishments. He's like, oh, okay, you're right. All right. This line is for Orange Cassidy and Britt Baker. Gabe.
Just told you.
I'm sorry. Dr. Britt Baker.
Uh-huh. So we found out that there was no line for tickets. That they were just lining. You would get in a line when somebody was there, which strikes me as monstrously inefficient and something I desperately want them to fix for next year. If you're not going to sell these things ahead of time, let people get in a line each day to buy tickets for experiences so they don't have to just come back at a point, wait in a godforsaken long line, and not even know if they're going to get to the front. Like, that's just, you're ruining people's weekends. Like, it's the exact opposite of how they successfully do the autographs and photo ops through the convention.
Yeah.
Where, like, you had said...
Epic photo ops.
Yeah, when you were doing David Tennant last year, and I know how that phrased, but I'll leave it. You had left to go do the photo op, and you're like, I'll catch up with you. I'll just text you when I'm done. I don't know how long this is going to take. And so I'm, like, looking around, and 10 minutes later...
Just to be clear, that was for the Kenny and the Bucks, because David Tennant was the next day.
Okay.
But same experience.
So Kenny and the Bucks...
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
And you're just like, it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that fast. It was that efficient.
They are that efficient, yeah. They've got these blocks of people. Like, if you have an 11 o'clock, you get there by 11 o'clock. If you have an 11:15, because they'll move this whole line through in 15 minutes.
Yeah. This wasn't. I mean, the line went okay, because the interactions are not that long. What you're paying for is either a photo or an autograph, I think. I don't know if you could get both. Maybe you could have gotten both.
George and Parker got an autograph.
Because they offered us like a Revolution poster that we could get signed, and we're like, no, it's okay. I don't need a signed poster. I'm all right. But so we eventually waited, and we got to the front of the line, and we had a very cool...
And I felt bad, because Dow had said, yeah, if we could just duck in and do this, and now this is like... the whole thing was like an hour and 10 minutes.
And at that point, it's like, once you're...
Yeah, you've invested too much time. You can't just walk away.
It's the sunk cost fallacy of like, we've already been here for 35 minutes. Let's see it through.
Yeah.
You're pot committed, I think they call that.
Pot committed?
Yeah, it's a card game betting term.
Okay.
Like you've put all your chips in, you've got to see it through now. So anyway, we get to the front, and Patrick and I had a photo with Orange Cassidy. We told him we were huge fans, and we
forgot to tell him that we were Christopher Daniels' Chicago comic store, which Christopher Daniels had said, hey, mention that tomorrow, because I was just talking about comics with him, and I mentioned that you were my store.
Maybe it'll come up. But
Chicago store.
He did mention that he was complimentary about how dressed up we were.
Yeah.
He did tell me that he has a denim tuxedo.
That's awesome.
Then we took the photo, and I think it came out really well. I'm not a huge fan of having my image engraved into anything, but I think it came out pretty good.
Yeah.
So that
and the person taking the photo took one.
Yeah.
Not like that usually, like, here's 8 that I hit. No, just one.
No, and I mean, we were off there, and then you didn't even get a chance to look at the photo before we were around the corner, and they were on to the next group.
Yeah.
Luckily it came out great.
I did say, I'm like, hey, man, we're really excited for tomorrow's match.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
I hear you're going to try. And he goes, we'll see.
Yeah. It was just a rumor.
Yeah. I felt a little bit bad for George and Parker, though. They were right behind us.
Yeah.
And George took a picture of Parker and Orange Cassidy, but he wasn't in it because he took it.
Oh.
Then he saw ours. He's like, who took your picture? I'm like, there was a guy in line. Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of people that are going to want a selfie, but, you don't want to just, like, have your arm around them and then reach your other arm out to take the photo. Like, so there's enough. They know that there needs to be someone there to take a photo. You mean like
with Ashley Woods?
Yes. Well, we didn't pay for that. It
no,
was just friends taking photos with friends. The Orange Cassidy thing, I think time-wise it all worked out. We didn't necessarily see as much on the show floor as we would have in years past. But it's a lot of the same stuff to me. So in retrospect, I think the time we spent on it was worthwhile. I don't regret spending the first hour doing that, but there was definitely some moments in the beginning where it's like, I wish they had designed this differently so I didn't feel as much like I was wasting my time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think having people just line up and then charging them money and then having them take a photo is in any way the best way to do it. Like, that's how people would have done it 6 years ago, and I think we have enough Comic-Cons under people's belts to know that that's not the way to do it anymore. It's one thing if, again, they're going to have 15 stalls where the wrestlers are just sitting there for hours at a time, but when it's like they are here for an hour and this is the line and we don't know if we can get you all through it, like, that's not good. You're gonna piss some people off. So for next year, I'd love to see them fix that.
So, Dal, while we were around the corner looking at the picture, we happened to be right by the AEW Unleashed action figure line.
Is it Unleashed? Is that what they're called?
Isn't it?
Unlimited, maybe?
I think it's Unleashed.
Okay.
I don't think it's... He's looking it up.
I'll just check.
It's definitely not Unlimited.
Okay.
And so we were right by the prototypes, and the toys look great, and I was... I don't know if I mentioned this last week on the podcast, but I was wary of Jazzwares getting a license. These figures look great.
We're both wrong.
Super
unrivaled.
They
have no rivals.
Oh wow. Okay. Anyway. Well, that's because there's no MJF figure yet.
I guess.
We're very excited for these toys. Maybe the assortment of characters for the first wave isn't what we would have done, but still. I don't
understand why you'd have a Brandy figure as the first female wrestling figure in the line when she does not wrestle for that company as regularly as a dozen other women do.
Sure.
So strange to me. You didn't have either one of your two women's champs as the first figure is
nor in the second wave.
Regrettable. At least regrettable.
Anyway, these figures are great. I'm excited. I want to buy them. And Dow was talking to someone at the booth asking about their availability.
Yeah, because that's the thing. As we've been seeing them, we're like, okay, are we going to be able to get these through Diamond or through Southern Hobby or through all of our normal action figure vendors?
Let me just answer that for you in one word. No.
No. What I was told by somebody was that for the first year, they're going to be Walmart exclusives. Except for whatever Ringside Collectibles has an exclusive for.
Yeah.
Which is they're doing a little bit of the bubbly edition of Jericho, where it's the Jericho figure, but he comes with a table with like an ice bucket and a bottle of bubbly and some other accessories and stuff. So yeah, I can't verify any of that. I asked somebody if they were, the manufacturer or if they were part of something else, and he said he was part of the toy manufacturing team that's doing the figures. And when I asked him about availability, he said Walmart for the first year. So
wow,
I have not seen that announced anywhere. I don't know if that's I can't verify that, but I was told that by somebody who was working at the booth who identified themselves as someone who works for the company that does the figures.
Now, I find that disappointing because Walmarts are not plentiful in our area.
Nope. There are not a lot of them in the city, especially compared to like Targets, which are everywhere.
If there were Target exclusives...
Oh my God.
I'd still be a little bit like, well...
I want to carry them.
Yeah, I want to be able to sell these to people.
Sure. I'd carry
But
those.
more than that, I want them.
Yeah, and when I asked him, like, are they going to be available on the Walmart website? Didn't know, so it's like, okay, so I might actually... I'm not getting any of those, but...
I'm getting you a brandy for Christmas.
Fans would have to actually go to Walmart, which feels... I mean, I don't know what deal got struck, and I don't know if that's, if Target was not exactly breaking down the doors to get AEW action figures into their retail locations, or if it's something where Walmart's like, we will give you prime placement if you let us be the exclusive vendor for the first year. I don't know. Hopefully it'll work out for AEW. I do want those figures to succeed because I would like them to get to the point where they can have a zero articulation Orange Cassidy figure with his hands molded into his pockets. And then I will just do whatever I have to go get it.
I was just going to buy a regular Orange Cassidy figure and glue him for you.
It's not the
glue
same.
a joint. I know.
It's not the same.
But it's limited. So from there, we went to the show floor.
We did. We did Artist Alley because we had to drop some stuff off.
Normally we start at one and go to the other. This time we started at row G.
G, yeah.
And then went up through A and then went back to the end.
To see our local Chicago friends, and we were muling some stuff for them that we needed to drop off. And then they were kind enough to take some of our new River North bookmarks featuring art by Liana Kangas.
From She Said Destroy, which we do not have in River North, and I could have sold one yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just saying.
Single issues or the graphic novel?
Graphic novel.
Okay, because single issues are probably in the box that's underneath the left blue counter.
Gotcha.
That's just 1 and 2, though.
The person had the singles, they just wanted a collection.
Yeah, well, we'll get it for next week. So yeah, we did that.
They will be gone by then.
But we'll get it anyway.
I'm just saying.
So yeah, we met some of our local friends and said hi, and then started going up and down the rows. We did like the back, what is that? Like the back, like 6 or 7 rows of Artist Alley.
G through A.
Yeah, and then we rotated out to some of the vendor spots. I think we didn't do lunch yet, did we?
No, we did the vendor stuff first.
We did the vendor stuff, and then we took a bathroom break, and then got lunch. And then we did lunch and then we did the rest of Artist Alley, or did we do the rest of Artist Alley and then lunch?
Rest of the Artist Alley, then lunch, because you're skipping one of your favorite parts that you couldn't have done right before lunch.
I don't remember. Help me out. Oh, I had a churro. Yeah. Well, because we didn't like the last 6 rows of Artist Alley, and then you were like, I really want a pretzel. Or
I said, I need something to drink.
Yeah.
But I could get a pretzel.
Yeah. So you got a pretzel, and then we walked up a little bit, and then I'm like, oh, there's a churro vendor. And so I got a nice churro with chocolate sauce, and it was very good. It really hit the spot. But yeah, so we ended up doing, over the day, we did the entire Artist Alley section, some of the vendors, some of the publisher stuff. Basically, like, checked out some of the tables that we knew or liked or that we were interested in. But generally, I think we saw a lot less of the show floor than we have in years past. But a lot of what we saw was kind of the same stuff we've always seen.
Yeah. I'm going to go over my haul.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about some of the people that we talked to.
Sure.
But this is, even though we looked for action figures for ourselves.
Yeah.
Me, Wrestlers, Dal, the Kamen Riders.
Yeah, real quick, I was excited to go to the Bluefin booth because Bluefin is the U.S. distributor for Bandai, and that Bandai is Kamen Rider. So I go into at first they have this like store they set up and they wall it off, and there's a line to get in. So I'm like, I'll just hit it later. And sure enough, later there wasn't a line. Their interior space is just aisles of stuff. So I look in every aisle, and then I eventually ask somebody, "Hey, did you bring any Kamen Rider stuff? I only saw these 2 SIC figures over there." And SIC is like the hyper stylized artist renditions of characters, not like how they look on a show, but like essentially like the Batman black and white statues, where it's like, oh, I did this crazy version. Like, okay, well, that's not what I'm looking for.
Gotcha.
And they're like, oh, no, yeah, we also brought, and it's like the figurized model kits that I already have all of, and they brought just 3 of them. Like Zeo and Guys and
Ghost?
Cyclone Joker from Double, and that's it. And I have all
But
those.
Ghost?
They brought the SIC Ghost. They did not bring a model kit for Ghost. I don't think they've done a figurized model kit for Ghost.
Their loss.
I'm sure they'll get around to them. Not
You'd
the most
buy
popular. It. I absolutely would buy it. But anyway, so yeah, like the only place that I thought would really possibly have any cool Kamen Rider stuff that I might buy would have been Bluefin, and they did not bring any. A billion Gundam kits and a lot of Dragon Ball Z stuff, but really not much in the way of Kamen Rider. Just it's not a huge franchise in the U.S., but Team Rider, who does all of the social media stuff for the Common Rider sections of Bluefin, was even doing like a fan meetup Saturday night with like a fan photo, like show up at the booth and we'll take a picture all together. So I thought, oh, maybe they'll have like some representation. And again, they really didn't. They just brought 5 things. That was about it. So that was disappointing for me. And I know you were looking for certain wrestling figures, but...
Yeah, I found a bunch of figures that I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Like the Gerald Briscoe with the Briscoe Brothers t-shirt, Pat Patterson with the first Intercontinental Champ t-shirt. Mm-hmm. But those were exclusive figures, and this one, the booth that had them was charging $50.
Yeah.
And, like, I bust my wrestling figures open, and they wrestle.
Yeah.
I'm not paying $50 for a toy.
That's understandable.
That is just going to get beat up. And they had other stuff. I'm like, all right, even no matter what, like, all the elites were at least $40. Yeah. Like, I'm not, I just stopped
There
looking.
were some older ones that were like 25, but it's like you would have already gotten the ones you wanted. Yeah. The new ones were the ones that were the most expensive.
And everything was like, oh, look at that Gorilla Monsoon, because I'm looking for a Gorilla Monsoon. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a Chase figure. It's $50.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I looked at wrestling toys, but I didn't buy any. And it didn't bother me that much. But I got Artist Alley stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
Artist Alley stuff. Yeah, you and I each bought a map of Kaiju Max.
Yeah.
Of Kaiju Max, the actual map of the prison.
Yeah.
For the Kaijus from Xander Cannon's Kaiju Max.
Yep.
And it was such a neat thing. I'm like, well, we each want one of these. That's cool.
Definitely.
We each bought a Thank You Liger book from Daniel Warren Johnson, his fan comic for the just retired Jushin Thunder Liger, the Japanese pro wrestler who just retired, and this was his thank you book, and that's super cool. That he had him out already.
It came out great.
Yeah, it's so good.
Like so much of if you've ever read any Daniel Warren Johnson comics, you know that he does a lot of really dynamic action sequences. Things feel very exaggerated. They have a very anime feel to them of like speed lines and extended bodies and all that kind of stuff. And that's great in all of his books, but it's so useful in doing wrestling stories because it makes these matches seem superhuman.
Like the stakes are high.
Yeah, like people aren't being body slammed. They're being driven through the earth. They're not being like flipped in the air. They're being launched into orbit. So it makes Jushin Thunder Liger seem like, a God-given form, not just like a Japanese wrestler.
Even the little things like when Red Shoes raises his arm at the end, it's grab, yank. I mean, it's so good. And Red Shoes, a very famous Japanese referee, he's in the book.
Yeah. Which is funny because as I opened it, I'm like, Daniel, when does Thank You Red Shoes come out? Because he just retired too. And sure enough, Red Shoes is in it. And he said that he had difficulty with Red Shoes as caricature doesn't work as well as someone like a Jushin Thunder Liger might, where there's a little bit more to latch onto.
Sure. So we got that. We both picked up Blast Furnace 2 from Ryan Brown, his new 1 hour per page challenge comic that he did.
The first installment of the new version.
Yep. I got a new Super Emo Friends, Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Which is it's adorable, and I have to find a nice place for it. I got a 24-hour comic from Tyrell Cannon, and I got 2 sketchbooks from Jeremy Bastian, because I didn't realize he didn't do it for 2019, but he did 18 and 17, and his 2016 sketchbook is where we got our Christmas card from that year, with the dueling Santa Krampus that he was kind enough to let us use. Mm-hmm. I got an enamel pin from him. I think that's kind of it.
The Taskmaster?
Oh, right. I got 2 new T-Dragon dragons from Oni Press. They a couple years ago they put out a chamomile from Katie O'Neill. Katie O'Neill's T-Dragon Society book, and now I saw a new one. I'm like, oh my god, I have to get that one.
Rubinose?
And then there was another one.
Jasmine.
I missed all of them.
Yeah, as you were buying Rubinose, it's like, what is this green one? Like, oh, it's Jasmine. Like, yes, that one too.
Yeah.
What am I standing here for?
So I got those dragons, and there was what I thought was a plush Taskmaster Shield backpack. It was a
just like a round backpack.
Yeah, like a 14-inch diameter, maybe 15 inches.
Yeah.
But it was 3 inches thick.
And like $30.
And I'm like, oh, I thought it was a backpack. And you're like, no, it's a pillow.
Yeah.
Like, oh, right, the stand is all pillows. So I'm like, well, we'll see. And as we're like toward the end of the day, it's like, all right, we're walking past. Like, you actually led me there.
Yeah, I'm like, let's take a look.
So I bought it, and then she hands it to you, and you flip it over, and there's arm straps on the back.
I'm like, did you see this? Because you can wear it like a shield.
Yeah.
And that was like, and you were already getting it, so it's like, oh, total bonus.
Yep. And I, as Mark Tower pointed out, like, oh, that replaced the Taskmaster shield you gave away.
It's true. For charity.
Yeah, so I got those, and it was a decent haul. Like I spent.
They needed to give you a bag when we were at the Taskmaster pillow one.
Counting the $17 for lunch, spent about $230.
Okay.
Both of us combined.
That's cool.
Not counting your lunch.
Oh, okay. Which was $16.25.
You paid for it separately.
I did.
Yeah, mine was also $16.25. Yeah,
we got the same meal deal.
Nickel.
Got the from Midwest Melt. Got the smokehouse. No, the turkey melt, which was turkey and bacon and 2 kinds of cheese on toasted sourdough bread, I think, with a bag of chips and a bottle of soda, and that was $16.25.
The sandwich was good though.
It was. I honestly, it's probably the best meal I've had at C2E2.
Yeah.
In the years I've been going there, because I would usually just get the hot dog, and that's all right. It's not my favorite hot dog, but knowing I would probably be getting hot dogs at Revolution, I'm like, well, I can't have a hot dog the day before, or I shouldn't have a hot dog the day before. So try something new.
We wound up talking to a bunch of different retailers today.
Yeah.
Including Nick from Alley Cat, Mark from Dark Tower, Terry from Third Coast, obviously Josh from Westfield.
Yep.
And they weren't just like, hey, how's it going? Like, they were conversations.
True.
And it's always fun to
yeah, and we talked to a lot of our artist friends, a whole bunch of people. I don't want to name drop, but that was Artist Alley. Was basically going to people and saying hi and asking how they were doing and catching up, that sort of thing.
But so, we also, I mean, we look at this as networking.
Yeah.
To help us do our job better.
Except it's the same problem we have every year where we didn't talk to anybody really new.
Right.
Which is the kind of key networking thing, is going up to people like Mitch Drance and going, here's our business card. Let us know if you want to do something.
I mean, we already have. We've talked to Mitch before.
I know, but.
And, like, I could email him at any point, and. I mean, he's super in demand now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we reminded Erica Henderson who we are.
We did, yeah. Which is, I genuinely did not expect her to remember us. And I don't know that she 100% did, but I think she did.
Yeah, I mean, we had dinner with her last year, so...
I mean, I was sitting right next to her dinner.
Right.
But it's still a thing of, like, it was a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's done a ton of conventions.
Right, so the idea that, like, she would have any recollection of that whatsoever. But, I mean, talking to her at the show, it felt like she was someone who remembered that we'd talked before.
Yeah, and if she didn't, she covered it really well.
Yeah.
We talked to Cullen for a bit because he's one of our best friends in the industry.
Yeah.
And he had some good insight on some stuff. Even though we talked to a lot of people we already know, we set up 2 different, like, fairly not major events, but events that could be like a double signing.
Mm-hmm.
This week alone, we set up like at least 2 more double signings. They're not carved in stone, but
yeah. I mean, it's
in an art show.
It's the thing where I don't dislike how we spent our time.
Yeah.
Like, I like talking to the people that we know, and I like catching up with them, and I like that sort of, like, reestablishing friendship stuff. I think that's valuable, if not business-wise, then just, like, emotionally. Like, it's fun to talk to those people, and that means that the experience for us attending a show like that is less work and more fun. However, I'd like us, as always, every year, and I say it every year, and I'm as guilty of it as anyone involved, to also start reaching out to new people, to just doing the, like, there's a thing that Jacob does where a lot of this is him finding a way to he can't bring a lot of artists to his store, so he'll go to these conventions and create relationships where he can find some way to get some version of that artist or that writer for his customers. And that's the thing where there's nothing stopping us from doing something similar, of just going up to someone who doesn't have a long line and going, hey, we love your stuff. Here's our card. If you want to work together to promote something that's coming up, maybe we do a book plate. Maybe we do a signing. Maybe we do an art show. Maybe something. And just kind of get our business in front of them to know that we are a venue where if they feel like they want to do something, we can be a place where that happens. Like, it's a thing that every year I think, oh, we should have done more of that, and I'm going to think about it now.
Well, all right, so last weekend we had a signing at Bucktown.
Yes.
Damon Hampton and Eddie, I don't remember Eddie's last name, I'm sorry, for a new book called The Rose Society.
Correct.
And they came to us and said, hey, can we do this? Like, Damon came to me and said, hey, what does it take to get, like, to be able to do a signing for a book in your store? And I said, this.
Have a book.
You asking us. And they had a really fun time. I didn't realize it. This was their first signing. Mm-hmm. Like, Damon was super nervous because he'd never signed before.
Sure.
I'm like, but Damon, you're in this store a whole bunch. Like, this should be home to you. He's like, yeah, but I've never sat behind a table and had have people focus on me.
It's a different experience.
But they both really enjoyed it, and they moved some books.
That's great.
Yeah, and we have the book is on our new release wall right now.
And that's valuable, and I like that. And certainly people at honestly a lot of different levels of the industry have come to us and said, we want to do something. What can we do? But I'd like us to extend that out a little bit and create those connections where...
With more people.
Yeah, we're just, when we see something, it can be like, oh, that person, we're already on their radar, so when we go to them and say, hey, would you want to do something, we have an idea of whether or not they'd be amenable to that, because we've talked to them and we know, we've had a little bit of a discussion about that as a prelude, so now we can move forward with, like, the nuts and bolts of it. And... I mean, certainly, for a store like River North that is struggling and needs to find a way to pull people there, being able to go to somebody and saying, hey, you're a famous person, you have a lot of fans, we'd like to do something with you, that could be something that draws their fans to a new store.
Right.
And that's something that we maybe should have done more of.
We have reached out to people for that, but it's all, as you point out, it's all people we know.
Right, and those people are great, and I love them, but, I mean... being able to have someone brand new that has not come to Chicago or not been at a Chicago store or not been at Challengers, like, creates additional interest, I think, from people.
I did ask Tom King if he could sign on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And he said he'll get back to me.
Okay. That's probably a yes, then.
Yeah, I'm not saying no.
Seems like a yes.
Not saying no.
That's definitely how you'd phrase a yes.
I also don't say no to anyone who wants to back us on Patreon.
Not anybody, really?
No, we'll take anybody's money.
Wow, okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I can block it, but...
I wonder if you can reject people
I was
from
going to say a name.
Yeah, don't.
And I don't even want to do it.
No.
Like,
let's just let people fill in the blank.
I would say, you know what? I would tell this 3-name person...
Uh-huh.
Well, no, it's not 3 names. This... person that we would not want their money, but we love getting the money from people that find value in this very podcast. Sure. And our regular patrons, like Dow's mom, Diane Bush.
Thanks, Mom.
Like Arun Singh from Boom Studios, like a good club member of ours, Chris Burton, like Ryan Hecht, like my cousin Bridget Neville, like Hawaii's own Markasan Naso, which it's not Hawaii's own, but it was fun to see Team Voracious reunited in Hawaii this last week.
Yeah, and yet half of them came back to Chicago.
4C2E2.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Right? Like Mark Brother Bear Hammond from Oh Yeah Comics. Like Christina McChrystal, who I hope she was able to meet Tom King today after all. Hope it worked out for her. Like that same Jackob Sareli fella you just heard from a little while ago. Like Robert Lane, like Morgan Kaiju Perry from Boom Studios, like my brother George, who got to meet Orange Cassidy this morning, like Artie White, like Michael Romanenko, who we saw the whole Romanenko family at the show today.
Yeah. We didn't see a lot of Challengers people today because we were, again, not on as much of the show floor as we normally would have, so hopefully anybody who was there Friday that didn't see us, I'm sorry.
Also, even though Dow was constantly violating the no-touch protocol, he did, in fact, deny a club member who was wearing a sale t-shirt a high five.
So, I didn't deny it.
I'm sorry, did you give them a high five?
I made it optional for them so that they could honor the no-touch protocol.
They knew how uncomfortable you were.
I was not.
Okay.
The only time I think I was uncomfortable the entire day was when I had my badge and lanyard ripped off my neck by a hooligan Some scoundrel.
These damn hooligans.
Which I guess they'll let anybody into C2E2 now.
I talked to that person after the fact. They're really sorry.
Okay.
They didn't know that it was going to be that dramatic of a maneuver.
Uh-huh.
But they also think it was really funny.
That sounds exactly like the ne'er-do-well who was responsible for it.
They were illustrating
exactly
to
sounds like
Andrea Bell how you could make your own lanyards.
Challenger's business card artist, Andrea Bell?
Yes, the same one.
The very same.
Uh-huh.
Small world.
How she should make her own lanyards, and we made lanyards, and we spent a little bit more money to have A, the fancier clip at the bottom, and B, the safety release tab that, in case you get caught in like a thresher or a conveyor belt, you can escape.
Yeah, or if someone you're accosted by a brigand.
Someone illustrated the quick release without
dramatically
Dal knowing that was going to happen
without consent.
And but it did show how well it works.
Absolutely.
Like Dal's head was not driven into the table, which a normal lanyard would have happened.
Nor was I cleanly decapitated.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Head still on shoulders.
Don't use the razor wire for your lanyards.
Yeah.
Thank you to the Springham family and Jose Villagomez, Tom Nagovin, Tom, I love you. I'm sorry I never got back to you. Yes, we have a second store. To Mitchell Davies, who I talked to a bunch this week about retailing, and like Jacob, he is someone I really enjoy their perspective on the industry. Mitchell, of course, from All-Star Comics. Second mention, you cannot use that twice on bingo. Michael Lee, who we'll see tomorrow night to go watch wrestling with. Ryan Alcock, Matt Armstrong, and last but not least, the entire Zoo Story band, Robert Burns. Thank you, patrons. Anyone else, you can go to patreon.com/challengers. You can pledge $250,000 per episode, or $250,000 per episode.
Wow, that'd be great.
There's so many different levels.
Yeah.
So many different levels.
I don't know that you can go up to $250,000 an episode on Patreon. I think they might have some limits.
Huh. I think they'd love it. The fees they would get out of that.
I don't know. That might be actionable. I don't know.
Okay. Then lump sum, not per episode.
Okay, that's fair.
That's easier, right?
Phew.
We hope you enjoyed your C2E2 experience if you went. We hope you enjoyed your weekend if you didn't. We hope you all watched AEW Revolution, whether on Bleacher Report Live or on the Fight channel, or however you would watch it. Perhaps Tony Schiavone announced it live to you from the Dark Tower booth, because he walked through the Dark Tower booth while we were talking to Mark.
He did, yeah. He was wearing his AEW hoodie and everything.
It's Tony Schiavone.
Hey, it's Tony Schiavone.
We didn't bother him, though. That's fine.
We said, get out of here, Schiavone.
Schiavone. Thanks for listening.
And, oh wait, no, someone else is going to do it this week.
תודה שהקשבתם. תמשיכו לקרוא קומיקס.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155.
And in the River North neighborhood of Chicago at 750 North Franklin Street, number 103, 312-285-2252.
Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.
Hey, doll. Oh, I'm sorry, they're closed.
We're having an end of everyone's shift shot.
Perfect.
Just
ask them about their tattoos. Make sure to point. How you doing? Ask them about their tattoos.
I would like to ask them.
Trust me.
Like this.
Yeah, right.
Bye. Leaving, bye.
Bye.
But they were going to ask you about your tattoos, Julia.
Oh, do you
do prison cover-ups? That's right. Well, that's going to be some fun editing.
Yep.
Anyway,